transform and conquer. See, till now we have seen two techniques. One is divide and conquer technique. The second one is the greedy method or the greedy technique. In both, we have seen around 4 to 5 examples, and this is the third technique that comes in the algorithm subject. It is called as transform and conquer. Transform and conquer. So what is meant by transform and conquer? We'll see first. Then we will look into the heaps and the heap sort. First point, this technique involves two-stage procedures. The transform and conquer is a combination of two-stage process. The first, the problem is transformed into another form. That is why it is called as transform. The given problem is transformed into another form. The second one is, the solution is conquered. In the second step, we conquer the solution, and that is why we call it as transform and conquer. Three types of this technique exists. In a brief, we'll understand this. Three types of transform and conquer. Instance simplification. The first one is instance simplification. A given problem will be there. The problem will be simplified, and a smaller instance of the given problem is considered. Okay, that means a bigger problem is transformed into an instance of a smaller problem of the same type. Of the same type. Okay, so that is called as instance simplification. Second one is representation change. A problem will be given. It will be represented using some data structure, and what you are doing is you are completely transforming its representation. You are changing from one representation to another representation. The problem may be given, may be implemented using arrays. What you do is, instead of arrays, you take some other data structures like linked lists or stack or queues or stacks like this. That is one more kind of transformation. Third one is problem reduction. Problem reduction means there will be two problems. First problem you have to find the solution, and for the second problem there will be the solution already. Okay. For the second problem, the solution will be there already, and there will be no solution for the first problem. What you will do is you will convert or you will transform the first problem in the form of the second problem, and then you apply the algorithm that is there for the second problem. So that is called as problem reduction. So just in brief, I have explained you what are these um, three types of techniques that comes in transform and conquer. Let us go into this actual topic, the heaps. Heaps is a type of data structure, is one special kind of data structure that is used especially for implementing the priority queues. So we look at the first definition. Heap is a partially ordered data structure that is suitable for implementing priority queues. So why it is called as partially ordered? Partially ordered means not not all the elements in the heap will be sorted or will be in the order. Only some elements will be in order, and the rest will not be ordered. Therefore, it is called as partially ordered data structure. And they're used for implementing the priority queues. What are priority queues? What is meant by priority queue? Priority queue is a data structure where deletion of the element is based on the priority. Okay, I can insert using any method, any order, but the deletion takes place using the priority of the elements. For example, if there is a ascending priority queue or a descending priority, take example of descending priority queue. Descending priority queue means I can insert elements in any order, but while deleting, only the maximum valued element should be deleted first. That is called as descending priority queue. So like this, for if I want to search any element in the priority queue, so which element it search? It will search for the maximum element. So even while deleting, it will search for the maximum element. So we call it as a priority element. Either it can be maximum or minimum based on the ascending or descending priority queues. Third point, heap is a data structure which is used in the sorting algorithm called heap sort. So heap, we use a heap for especially for a sorting technique, and that sorting is called as heap sort. Okay. Now we will see what are meant by heaps actually and how the heap sort is done. Step by step, we will see the procedure. A heap is a binary tree with keys assigned to its nodes provided the following conditions are met. A heap is nothing but a binary tree. Binary tree means a node can have either 0 or 2, 0, 1 or 2 children. Okay, so that we call it as binary tree. And what it tells is it not just be a binary tree, but apart from that, it should satisfy some conditions. There are two conditions for heap. The first condition is the tree is a shape requirement. There is some requirement on the shape of the tree. So what is that requirement? We will see. The binary tree is essentially complete. Once again, focus on that word. It should be essentially complete. That is, all its leaves are full except the last level. If you look at the diagram, the right hand side diagram, here uh, uh, there are three levels. This is level 0, A is in level 0, B and C are in level 1, D, E, F are in level 2. Okay. Now what it tells, all its levels are full except the last level. Except the last level, all the levels should be full. All the levels should be full means every node should have exactly 2 children. Okay, so now A has 2 children, B and C. That means until the last level, except the last level, the tree is full. It is full. All the nodes are present. Okay, but what should be in the last level? In the last level, where only some rightmost leaves may be empty. In the last level, there may be empty nodes, but the empty node should be only towards the right hand side. Okay. Now, if you observe the left-hand diagram, until the last but one level, the tree is full. A, B, and C. All the nodes are present. But what about in the last level? The last level D is there, E is there, and for C, there is no left node, but there is a right node. We cannot call this as essentially complete. What essentially complete tells that? It tells that in the last level, there can be empty rightmost leaves. Okay, in between, there cannot be any leaves that is empty. I hope you understood this point. So first, this is the requirement that binary tree should be essentially complete. Okay. Second requirement, the parental dominance requirement. The parental dominance requirement. What it tells, the key at each node is greater than or equal to the keys at its children. If I take this binary tree, the first binary tree, every node should follow this parental dominance. What is this parental dominance? The key at the root node should be greater than or equal to the value of its children. For example, if I take 10, if I take the first diagram, if I take the first tree, 10 is in the root node. Okay, 10 is greater than 5 and 7. Yes, 10 satisfies the parental dominance. Come to 5, the 5. Whether 5 follows the parental dominance, 5 is greater than 4 and 2. Yes, it is true. Therefore, 5 also, it satisfies the parental dominance. Come to this 7. Whether 7 follows the parental dominance, whether 7 is greater than his children, yes, it is greater than his children. That means this first tree is an example of a heap. It follows, it is essentially binary tree, first point. Second point is it follows the parental dominance requirement. Look at the second one. First point, look at in the second diagram, whether the first condition holds, whether it is an essentially complete, whether this binary tree is essentially complete. No, because in the last level, there is no leftmost nodes. Rightmost nodes can be empty, but not the leftmost. Therefore, this fails in the first property itself. This is not essentially complete binary tree. Come to the third tree. In the third tree, first check whether it is an essentially complete binary tree. Yes, it is an essentially complete binary tree. It is true because leftmost nodes are present in the last level, and in the rightmost node is missing. whereas in the previous levels, the tree is full. Okay, now come to the second point, the parental dominance. Whether 10 is greater than 5 and 7? Yes, 10 is greater 10 is greater than 5 and 7. It is true. Next, check this 5. Whether 5 is greater than 6 and 2? False. 5 is not greater than 6. 5 is smaller than 6. Therefore, this fails the parental dominance property. Okay, now here we cannot call this as a heap because the parental dominance requirement is failed. So this is these are the examples of how to tell that whether a binary tree, given binary tree, is a heap or not. How the heaps can be represented? Heaps can be represented by making use of arrays. We can represent this by making use of arrays. So how to use the arrays for the representation? Let us see. So take an array which starts from 0 and till the length of the tree. For example, the length of this tree is, how many nodes are there in this tree? Just count the number of nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. There are 10 nodes. So the value of n, the number of nodes is 10. Okay. Now you have to take one array and its 0th index should be kept empty. We are not considering or we are not storing the elements of the tree or the nodes of the tree in the 0th index. Okay, we have to start from 1. So 1 is considered as the root node or the location of the root is index number 1. The location of the root is index number 1. Okay, now where this 8 and 7 should be stored, how to calculate this? So it is the left, if the parent is I, if the parent is I, the left subtree is 2I and the right subtree is 2I plus 1. I hope you got it. If the parent subtree is I, the left subtree is 2I and the right subtree is 2I plus 1. For example, if this is 1 and what is 2 into 1? 2 into 1 is 2. It is 2. And what is 2? What is 2I plus 1? It is 3. 2 into 1 plus 2 into 1 plus 1, that is 3. So that means what, it has to be stored in index 2 and 3. So in 2 and 3, 8 and 7 are stored. And where there is a 5 and 2 are to be stored. So this is 2. What is this location of its child? It is 2I. 2I means if I is 2, what is 2I? 2I is 4. So this is 4. And 2I plus 1, this is 5. And this is 6. And this is 7. How it is 6 and 7? It is 3 into 2, 6. 3 into 2 plus 1. 6 plus 1, 7. Okay, what is this? This is 8. It is 4 into 2. And what is this? It is 9. And this is 5 into 2 is 10. So like this, we have to store the elements in the array. You can see in this, it is not an difficult task. Just starting from 1. Starting from 1 till the last, just you can keep on continuously writing the elements of the array. Okay, so so just for the sake of making you understanding the relationship between the child and the parent indexes, I have told this. It comes in the next slide. So I have explained this in the previous slide, this slide itself. Okay, now if you observe this tree, if you observe this array from array index 1 till array index 10, all the elements are there starting from top to bottom and left to right. So 10, 8, 7, 5, 2, 1, 6, 3, 5, 1. So level by level, you have to read the elements from the tree and you have to put it into the array. Now there are some relationships between the tree parents and the leaves. So what is the relationship? We'll see in the next slide. Some more points are there. properties of the heap. These are some of the important properties. There exists exactly one essentially complete binary tree. A heap means there should be one tree. It can't be a combination of many trees. Okay, there exists exactly one essentially complete binary tree with n nodes and height equal to log n. So what is the height of this tree? If it is n, for example, this symbol is it tells it is the floor. We are calculating the floor of log n. Floor of log n means the previous whole number of the log n. For example, what is the value of n here? N is 10. Okay, for 10, if you take the logarithm, log of 10, it will be around 3 point something, 3.4 or 3.2 like that. If you take the floor of that, the whole number is 3, isn't it? The whole number is 3. So that point gives the height of the uh, tree. Sorry, it is not 3, it is 2. The height of this tree is 2. So it is it is level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3. So it is level 3. Therefore, the height is 3. Now, second point, the root always contains the largest element. So what is one more property of the heap? Always the root node in the heap, it contains the largest element. The second first point is the height of the tree is log n. Okay. Third point, a node of a heap considered with all its descendants is also a heap. Any node you consider in a heap with all its descendants, it is also considered as a heap. For example, if I consider 10, the whole all the descendants starting from 10, it is a heap. The whole tree is a heap. If I consider starting from 8, if I consider the subtree and 8 and all its descendants, so this complete subtree is also a heap. It follows the properties of heap. If I take 7 and its descendants, 7, 1 and 6, even this 7, 1 and 6 is a heap. If I take 5, 3 and 5, so even this is a heap. So in this example, you will come to know, you are seeing that there are elements which are equal. So what it tells, the root node, the parent node value should be greater than or equal to that of its children nodes. Okay. Fourth point, heap elements are stored in array from position 1 to n. So that is what we saw here. Heap elements are stored in an array starting from index 1 till n. N is 10 here. There are totally 10 elements in this example, in this heap. The parent node keys will be in the first n by 2 positions. The floor of n by 2. What is floor of n by 2? In our example, n is 10. 10 by 2 is 5, isn't it? It is what it tells. Starting n by 2 nodes that are present, they are all the parent nodes. They are all the parent nodes. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So till 2, all of them have children. After that means after this 2, starting from index number 6. This is index number 6 here. Starting from index number 6 till 10, all of them are leaf nodes. They don't have any child nodes. Okay, so that is how based on the formula you can get which are the parent nodes. Till what you can have the parent nodes in a heap. So first n by 2, floor of n by 2 are the parent nodes. And while the leaf nodes will occupy the last, it is seal. This symbol is seal of n by 2 positions. So n by 2 positions means last 10 by 2. 10 by 2 is 5. Last 5 positions in this example are leaf nodes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last 5 nodes are leaf nodes. So that you can see here. So first 5 are parent and the last 5 are leaf nodes. If parent position is I in the array, then its children positions are 2i and 2i plus 1. That is what I told on the previous slide. So if the parent is I, its left child is 2i, its right child is 2i plus 1. And if the child position is 1, and if the child position is I, then its parent position will be I by 2. For example, so this is 1, 2, 3, this is 4. This is 4. For example, I'll use annotation. The index of 5 is 4 and the index of 2 is 5. I want to calculate what is the index of its parent. The index of its parent is I by 2. 4 by 2 is 2. And 2 is nothing but the index of this 8. Even if you take the right child index is 5. 2's index is 5. What it tells, it is 5 by 2. 5 by 2 is, it is 2 itself. So we will get 2. So that is how we can calculate. If you know the index of the child, you can get the index of the parent, just divide it by 2. And if the child position is I, then its parent position is floor of I by 2. Last point, h of I. Consider h is the array name. H is the array name. H of I is greater than or equal to max of h of 2i, comma h of 2i plus 1. H of 2i is the left child, h of 2i plus 1 is the right child. The maximum of these two elements, whatever value you get, so greater than or equal to that will be the value of its parent. The parent value will always be greater than or equal to maximum of the left child and the right child. So that is what the properties of the heap. Let us now see the method of heap construction. So there are two methods for heap construction. First method is called as bottom up heap construction. So there are two methods. One is bottom up, other one is top down. First, let us see bottom up heap construction, and we shall see one example how the heap is constructed. First, the algorithm initializes the essential complete binary tree for the given n nodes by placing the keys in the order given. So there are two steps in this. The first step is you have to initialize what the algorithm does. It will initialize the essentially complete binary tree. It will create the binary tree, essentially complete binary tree for the given n nodes. Whatever inputs that are given for those nodes, essentially complete binary tree will be created. Look at this example. The list, the input is 297,658. So these are the inputs that are given. Now we have to create a heap based on the bottom up approach. And what the first step does, first step is nothing but the initialization of the heap, of the essentially complete binary tree. So what it does, so just in whatever order the input is given, 297,658, based on that, just create the binary tree 297,658. So just create the essentially complete binary tree. That is the first step. Starting from the root, go on filling each level from left to right until you read all the elements from the given list. So this is the first step, initialization step. Let us see what is the second step. Next, the algorithm heapifies the tree as follows. The next step is heapify, the process called as heapify. And what is this heapify? We will see. Point number one, the heapify contains two steps once again. Starting from the last parental node. Observe this. Starting from the last parental node, the algorithm checks whether the parental dominance holds for the key at this node. Look at the diagram. Starting from the last parental node, which is the last parental node here? 7 is the last parental node. 6, 5 and 8 are the leaf nodes. So 7 is the last parental node in this heap. So what you have to check is, you have to check whether this parental node satisfies the parental dominance. What the parental dominance tells, the root node on this, I'm considering 7 as the root now, the root node should have, or the parent node should have, the value greater than or equal to its child. Its child is having 8. It is not satisfying the parental dominance. Now what you should do is, if it is not satisfying, then you have to move this 8 to the root position. You have to move this 8 to the root position. Now 8 will be moved to 7. Okay. Now Now take this node. Now take this node, and 7 has to be brought to this position. 7 has to be brought to this position, but you don't bring it at once. So before bringing this 7 here, check whether if 7 is brought here, the parental dominance of this node, whether it holds. Okay. Now since 8 doesn't have any children, there is no need to check the parental dominance for this node. So directly you can take this 7, you can put it to 8. That means you are just swapping 7 and 8. Okay. So now in the next step, 8 has come to the root position and 7 has come to the left child position. Okay. Now this has to be done for all the parental nodes until you reach the root node, starting from the last parental node. First you should take 7, then you should take 9, then you should take 2. Until you reach the root node, you have to do this process. The first step we have took 7. The last parental node was 7. So after that, you move to the previous parental node. Previous parental node is 9. So let us look at the theoretical part. If not, the key is exchanged with the largest child and check whether the same holds for k in the new position. The same process is done for node's immediate predecessor till the root node. So now, so 8 is done. So come back to the previous parental node. Previous parental node is 9. So check whether the parental dominance satisfies. 9, yes, parent 9 is greater than both its left child and the right child. That means what? This 9 is satisfying the parental dominance, and therefore you don't have to do any changes for this. Okay. So 9 is compared with 6, 9 is compared with 5. Both 9 is greater than both its left child and the right child. Therefore, there is no changes to be done in this step. So next, what you are supposed to do is you have to move to the root node. Go to the next parental node in the reverse order. Okay, first you took 7, then you took 9, then you are going to 2. To come to this 2. Now check whether this 2 satisfies the parental dominance. Its children are 9 and 8. So which is greater? 9 is greater. So see, this parent is smaller than its children, isn't it? Now you have to swap, or you have to change the position of the parent and the child. Now you have to decide with which you are supposed to exchange, whether with the left child or whether with the right child. So how to check that? You first compare the left and the right child. Whichever is bigger, you have to swap with that. Okay. Now when comparing with 9 and 8, 9 is bigger. Therefore, this 9 goes to the root position. First step is the 9 goes to the root position. This 9, it goes to the root position. Okay. Now assume that this 2 has to be brought to this position. 2 has to be brought to the position where 9 was. If 2 is brought here, whether the parental dominance holds, you have to check that once. So if 2 is brought here, then it is once again smaller than its children. Its children are 6 and 5. Okay, 2 is smaller than 6 and 5. So you have to once again, you have to exchange with its child value. So which child you have to exchange with? So left or the right, whichever is bigger. So left child is bigger. Therefore, you have to take this 6. You have to copy here. You have to copy here, and now 9 has gone to the root position, 6 has gone to the position of 9. Now assume that 2 is here now in the position of 6. Now check once again, check whether the parental dominance holds. Since there are no child for this 6, you can stop the process there and bring this 2 to this position. So if you look at the last diagram, so 9 has gone to the root and 6 has come to the position of 9 and 2 has come to the leaf node position. Okay. Now, so what we did we started from the last parental node 7. We checked the parental dominance. We checked its previous node, that is 9. So 9 already holds the parental dominance. Then we came to the root node. Then we checked its parental dominance and we brought this to the last position. So that is once you reach the root node, once the parental dominance is checked for the root node, that is the last step. Okay, now observe this tree, this binary tree. Now see whether it is a heap. 9 is greater than 6 and 8, true. 6 is greater than 2 and 5, true. 8 is greater than 7, it is also true. So this method is called as a bottom-up construction of a heap. Okay, I hope you understood this step. Once again, just have a look at what we learned, the theoretical part of bottom up. So bottom up heap construction contains two steps. One is initialization. Initialization means you have to initialize the binary tree, essentially complete binary tree based on the input given. Whatever input that is given, you have to use that, and you have to just create the tree. And what is the second step? Second step is heapify. Heapify means starting from the last parental node till the root node in the reverse order. You have to check the parental dominance for each parental node. So once you do that, you will get the in the last step you will get the heap. So today's concept is the continuation of yesterday's. We were looking at heaps and heaps not, and the technique that we are learning is transform and conquer. So we are transforming to the problem is getting transferred to another form, and then later the problem is getting solved. So that is the gist of the transform and conquer. Now, in the previous class, we have seen this bottom-up heap construction, and so just to have a quick look on the two steps of this. What is the first step? First step is initializing the or essentially complete binary tree for the given nodes. The next step is heapify. So two steps are there. One is initialize, other one is heapify. How the heapify has to be done? You have to start from the last parental node. You have to start from last parental node, and you have to reach until the root node in the reverse direction. And in each step, you are supposed to check the uh, parental dominance of each parental node. So that is how we create the heap using bottom-up heap construction. Now today we will see heap bottom-up h of 1 to n. So h of 1 to n is the hash array, the array heap array, and the index is from 1 till n. What it does, it constructs a heap from the elements of a given array. And what is the input for this? The input is an array of elements from index 1 to n. What is the output? It creates a heap in that array, which is in the sorted order, and which is also from the index 1 to n. Okay, now what we are supposed to do? So as the step tells, the first step is initialization step, and assume that you have initialized the array. Initialization means you have filled all the elements starting from 1 to n, and this step starts from the second step. That means you are starting from heapify. This algorithm is heapify algorithm. Now in heapify algorithm, what you're supposed to do first, you have to take the last parental node, okay, and you have to reach till the root node, and that is what this for loop does. For I is equal to floor of n by 2. What is floor of n by 2? N by 2 means in the last while learning about the properties, we have learned. So these are the properties. If you look at the fifth property, the parent node will be in the first n by 2 positions. The parent node keys will be in the first n by 2 positions. That means till the first n by 2 positions, you will get the parent node. So based on this point, we are using that for loop. That means the for loop starts from n by 2. N by 2 is nothing but the last parental node. Okay, down to 1 means the for loop will be in the descending order. So it starts from n by 2 and it decrements till 1. Till the 1 is nothing but the root node. So do what you are supposed to do. K is equal to I. You have to take one variable k, and that is initialized to I. What is I? Initially, I is the last index of the last parental node. I is the index of the last parental node. Okay. V is equal to h of k. H of k means whatever k is nothing but the index of the parental node, and whatever that is there, what is the whatever value that is there in that parental node, that is stored in V. For example, if I take this as the input heap, the last parental node is 7. 7 is the last parental node, and that is stored in index k. K is, for example, here the index of the last parental node is 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and k gets the value of 3. K is 3 now, and what is V? V contains the value of this node. V is 7. K is 3 and V is 7. Just remember that. K is K is 3. K is 3 and V is 7. Initially, take one variable called as heap and set it to false. Take one variable V and set it to false. While take a while loop, while not heap, and while it is not a heap, yes, it is not a heap because heap is currently false, and 2 into k is less than n. 2 into k, what is there in k? K contains the value 3. That is the index of the parent. What is 2 into 3? 2 into 3 is 6. 2 into 3 is 6. You are checking whether this 2 into k, that is 6, is lesser than or equal to n. So why this is being done? You are checking whether it contains a child node. For that purpose, you are using this statement. For example, if you take the example of that diagram, k is 3 in this example and V is 7, and 2 into k. What is 2 into k? 2 into 3 is 6. 6. If it is 6, what is the value that is there in 6? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 is the index of 8. 6 is the index of 8. So you are checking whether that particular node has a child. Okay, that means you are checking whether that value, whatever multiplication you are doing, whether it is the index of the child and whether that child is lesser than the value of n. And take one variable j, make j is equal to 2 into k. Take one variable j. So take j, and j is nothing but 2 into k. What is k? K is 3. Since k is 3, the value of j will be 6. The value of j will be 6. Okay, and now what is this 6? Why you calculated j? J is the index of the left child of 7. So you have to get what is the index of the left child of the node, current node. So current node is k, k is 3, and you have calculated j. J is 2 into k, and you got j as 6. That is the index of the left child. Okay, next. If j is less than n, so check whether j is lesser than n. If j is not less than n, then that particular node has 2 children. Okay, so in this example, so j is what is n here? N is totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. N is 6, and j is whether j is less than n. J is not less than n. J is equal to n. So if j is not less than n, it means that this particular node 7 has only one node. That is the left child. If j is lesser than n, then it means that the particular node has 2 children. Okay, now since it has only one child, there is no need to compare 8 with its right child, because there is only one child. So for that purpose, directly you can, this if condition fails. The next if condition, if v is greater than h of j. Now compare the value v, that is 7, with h of j, that is its children, its child. So value v contains 7 and h of j is 8. You compare these two, whether the value is greater than h of j, whether the value v is greater than h of j. If value v itself is greater, if the parent node itself is greater, then there is no need to swap, or then there is no need to check, because if the root is greater, then eventually it is this particular subtree will be a heap. Okay. Now in this case it is not true. The value of v is greater than h of j is false. Okay, it is false. Value v greater than h of j is false. Therefore, heap is equal to will not execute. It goes to the else part, and what happens in else part? H of k is equal to h of j. H of k, h of what is k? K is this 7. It's third index where 7 is present. So in this place, 8 gets stored. I hope you are understanding. So 8 gets stored in the place of 7. So that is what you are doing in this statement. H of k is equal to h of j. So after doing that, what you have to do is you have to make k is equal to j. You have to make k is equal to j. Initially k was here. It was pointing to 3, index 3. Now your new k is the value where where currently the j is. Now this 8 is pointed by k. Now this becomes your new k. Now this is your new k. So now once again what you are supposed to do is you have to consider this as k now, and you have to check its child, whether 8 has any child. If 8 has any child, then that left child becomes j, k into 2, and you will compare that with its parent, and you will see whether the parental dominance works. So likewise, you have to go deeper until you reach the leaf node, or until the parental dominance satisfies. Okay, so that is the first iteration. That is the first iteration. Now let us see what happens next. K is equal to j. Now heap is equal to true. Heap is equal to true means the heap has remained false itself. Once again it comes to the while loop. While not a heap, it is not a heap yet. Therefore 2 into k is lesser than n. It will check for this. So it will check whether its child value is lesser than n, whether it has a valid child. Next, if it has a valid child, then once again j continues. Now in this example, 8 doesn't contain any child. 8 doesn't contain any child. Therefore, this equation will be false. 2 into k lesser than n will be false, because what is 2 into k? Now 2 into k is 6 into 2 is 12. So 12 is lesser than n. It is false. 12 is not lesser than n. It means that that particular node 8 doesn't have any children. Okay. Next, what happens? The while loop fails. The while loop fails here itself, and the last statement, h of k is equal to value. What was there in value? Value contained the value of 7. Value contained the value of 7. So now that 7 has to be stored in h of k. Now this is k. So in the place of 8, 7 gets stored. In the previous step, the 8 was stored in the place of 7, and in the last step, the 7 gets stored in 8. So likewise, if you look at the second diagram, 8 comes to the root position of this subtree, and 7 comes to the child position. So this is one iteration. Okay. Now what happens in second iteration? So this statement is executed, and once again it goes to the for loop. Why? For I is equal to. That means it takes the next parental node. The next parental node is this 9. 9 is the next parental node. Now 9 is considered as k. Now 9 is k. Okay. Now it checks whether 2 into k. What? Sorry, not 9 is k. Its index. What is its index? Index is 2. K's index is 2. Okay, now it checks, it will check whether 2 into 2, 2 into 2 is lesser than n. What is 2 into 2? It is 4. Whether 4 is lesser than n? Yes, true, because 4 is lesser than 6. 6 is the value of n, total number of nodes. So it means that the child index is valid, it contains a valid child. If it contains a valid child, now you have to take this variable j, and you have to assign the value 2 into k. What is 2 into k? It is 4. 2 into k is 4. And next, what you are checking, there is a if condition. It checks whether the value of j is lesser than n. You look at uh, the code, checks whether value of j, whether if j is lesser than n, to check whether it has two children. Yes, j 4 is lesser than 6, n is 6. Okay, total number 4 is lesser than 6. It means that this particular node 9, it has two children. If it has two children, then you have to compare the left and the right. So this is j, this is j plus 1, this is h of j, this is h of j plus 1. Okay, now we have to compare. What you have to compare? If h of j is less than h of j plus 1, you have to check which is bigger. If h of j is smaller, then j becomes j plus 1. Then you have to point the j to whichever element that is bigger in size. Okay, now in this example, let us see how it works. J is here. Now it checks whether h of j is lesser than h of j plus 1. So it is not lesser. H of j itself is bigger, therefore j remains there itself, which means that left child itself is the biggest. So once you identify which is biggest of these two children, the next step is you have to compare that biggest child with the parent child, with the parent node. You have to compare the biggest child with the parent node. Okay, that is the next step. Now we are comparing. If v is greater than h of j is nothing but the left child, and v is the parent node value. If v is greater than 9, 9 is nothing but v. Whether it is greater than h of j? Yes, true, it is greater than h of j. Isn't it? 9 is greater than h of j. So that means what? There is no need to swap the values, and that is a heap. That subtree is a heap. Therefore, you are making that heap as true. Heap is true. So it goes to the while loop. When it goes to the while loop, it will check while not heap. It is a heap. The while loop stops there itself. It comes out of the loop, and the last statement gets executed. What is the last statement? H of k is equal to value. That means 9 gets stored in the same place. There is no change in that. Okay, the 9 remains in the same place. Once again, it goes to the for loop for the third time. When it goes to the for loop for the third time, it takes the root value. Now it considers the root value as the parental node. Now it will check. Now this is the k. Now what is the value of k? K is 1. K is 1. Now what is j? J is equal to k into 2. So k into 2 is nothing but 2. 2 itself. So this is j, and j is having the value of 2. Okay, now we are checking. Now you check whether this j is lesser than n. Yes, j is lesser than n. It tells that it has two children. Okay, once you come to know that it has two children, the next step is you have to compare the left child and the right child. You have to compare h of I with h of j with h of j plus 1. So which is bigger? H of j itself is bigger, therefore j remains there itself. If h of j plus 1 is bigger, then j becomes the next node. Then j is equal to j plus 1. It points to the right child. Okay, now once you come to know which is bigger, the next step is you have to compare the bigger child with its parent. You're comparing 2. You're comparing 2 with this h of j. What is 2? 2 is stored in value v. You're comparing v. You check whether v is bigger than 9. V is not bigger than 9. Okay, if v is not bigger than 9, then what you're supposed to do is you're taking this 9 and you're storing this in the place of 2. You're taking this 9, you're storing that 9 in the place of 2. Okay, and v contains the value of 2. V is not overwritten. That means v is not lost. The value of 2 is present in v, and 9 overrides the value of the root node. Now 9 comes to the root node. So that is what you can see in the next diagram. So this diagram. So now what happens? What is the next step? You have to make the next node as k. Now in the next step, this becomes the k. So what is its value? 2. K is 2. Now what is j? J is the left child of k. So this is j. So 2 into 2 is 4. You have calculated j. It is the left index of the left child. Now what has to be done next? You have to check whether it is lesser than n. Whether j is lesser than n. Yes, it is lesser than n. It means that it has two children. Okay. Now if it has two children, then next step is you have to check which is biggest. So whether h of j is bigger or h of j plus 1 is bigger. Now if you see this, h of j is bigger, itself is bigger. Therefore j remains there itself. Now next step is you have to compare this h of j, that is the biggest child, with the value v. With the value v. If you look at this diagram, the first leftmost diagram, the v still contains 2. The v contains 2. Okay, you're comparing v with h of j, that is 6. You're comparing v, value of v with 6. So once again, value of v is not greater than 6. Okay, if suppose if you are storing 2 here, so what happens? You have to check. So whether if you store 2 here, whether the heap parental node satisfies. So it is not bigger. Therefore, once again, if it is not same, this 6 has to be moved to the position of 9. 6 will be moved to the position of 9. So the first step 9 was moved to the position 2 in the root node. Now 6 moves to the position where 9 is. Okay. Now the next step. What is the next step? Now this is k. Sorry. Now this becomes k. K. Look at the leftmost diagram. So what is the value of k? K is 4. K is 4. Now calculate what is j. J is 2 into k. So 2 into k is 2 into 4, that becomes 8. That is 8. Now check whether this value of 8, whether it is lesser than n. If it is lesser than n, then it has a child. If it is not lesser than n, then this particular node number 6 doesn't have any child. If it doesn't have any child, then no need to go further. And the last step is, it comes out of the while loop, and finally whatever that is there in v, it gets stored in k. It gets stored in k. So that is what h of k is equal to, h of k is equal to, there is one statement at the end, of k is equal to v. So that 2 comes and gets stored in h of k. So that is how the final step you will get here. 9 gets moved to root, 6 gets copied here to the root of this subtree, and 2 comes here. So this is how the algorithm works. I hope you understood this. If there is any doubt, you can please ask. Otherwise, I'll move further. Still 15 minutes time is left. I think I can't complete this. Let me see. Okay, now come to the second part. The second method of construction of heap. We call it as top-down heap construction. Okay, just till now we have seen the bottom-up heap construction method, and in that we have seen the algorithm as well as the steps. Now in this, it is a different method where this one the heap is getting constructed by making use of a different technique. Let us see what is that technique. This algorithm constructs a heap by successive insertions of a new key into previously constructed heap. Now observe the difference here. In the previous method, already the essentially binary tree was created, and that tree was heapified. The heapify algorithm was applied on that tree. Whereas here, while inserting the algorithm from the input itself, while reading the input itself, you are going to insert a new key into a previously constructed heap. That means in every step while inserting itself, the heap is being created. Okay. So let us see how it is done. First, attach a new key. So what is the method that is applied? First, attach a new node with the key k in it after the last leaf of the existing heap. So what you have to do is, take this example. Now think that the heap contains the nodes until 7. Until 7 it contains the nodes. Okay, and you want to add a new element 10 into the heap. What the first point is, you have to add that element to the last position. The last position is to the right of 7. So this is the first step. Okay. First, attach a new node with key k in it after the last leaf of the existing heap. So this is the existing heap. This is the existing heap, and all the elements follows the properties of heap. And the new element added is 10. Okay. Now after adding this 10, what you do is you check whether it follows the parental dominance property. Okay, that means what? In every step after adding each element, you are checking whether it follows the parental dominance. Second step, then shift k up. Then shift that k up to its appropriate place in the new heap based on the parental dominance property by comparing with its parent until the property holds or until k reaches the root node. So until the property holds or until k reaches the root node. For example, now 10 is added here. 10 is added here. Now check with its parent whether the position of 10 is correct when compared to its parent. Parent is having 8 value and child is having 10. So parental property doesn't hold. Now what you are supposed to do is you have to bring this 8 to the position of 10. It is not swapped, but the 8 comes to the position of 10 like this. Okay, and now assume that 10 is here. 10 is not copied here, assume 10 is here. And now compare whether this 10 follows the parental dominance when compared to its parent 9. Okay, whether 9 follows the parental dominance. 9 is having lesser value and 10 is having greater value. So therefore, this 9 also comes one step down. And assume that 10 is here. So what the point is, until the parental dominance holds or until it reaches the root node. Now 10 has reached the root node. If it has reached the root node, then take this 10 and copy it in the place of 9. So 9 is overwritten by 10. So this is how in the last step you can see 10, 9 and 8. Now it has formed a heap. Okay. Now think that you want to copy one more value. Think that you want to copy 7. I will give an example. You can understand better from this. You want to add 7 here. Now what? This is already constructed heap. So now where should I add this 7? For the last leaf node, which is the last leaf node, that is to the right, to the left of 2. To the left of 2, I have to insert 7. So this is the first step. Okay, this is the new node that is inserted. Now after inserting, now you check the parental dominance with its parent. Whether 7 has to be the left child of 2? No. So now what has to be done is this 2 has to be brought to this position. Okay. Next, assume that 7 is here. Don't copy 7 to the place of 2, just assume. Okay. Now, check with its parent whether it is a proper place. No, it is not the proper place. Okay. Bring this 6 to the position of 2. Okay. Next, assume that 7 is here. And check whether its place is correct. When compared with its parent 10, its place is correct. It is true, isn't it? So now what is happening is, now you have to stop here. That means there are two conditions. Either the parental dominance holds. So in this case, the parental dominance holds. Whereas in the previous case, it has reached the root node. 9 has reached the root node. Okay, so two cases I have shown you. So until this, so now here the parental dominance holds. Now you remove this 6 from here and override that 6 with 7. So now 7 gets copied here. 2 is here. 6 comes here, and 2 comes to the position of 7. So that is how the heap gets created in every step. So every step, a node is added, and the parental dominance is checked, and the heap is created in every step. So that is what is there in the top-down approach. I hope you understood this. Let us see what is there next. Maximum key deletion. Maximum key deletion means it is so I told the heap is used for priority queues. What is priority key? It has two types of priority queues. One is ascending priority queue, other one is the descending priority queue. So let us assume that we have a descending priority queue. What is descending priority queue? Descending priority queue means always the root element will have the largest node, and the leaf nodes will have the smaller nodes. Okay. Now, if I want to apply the delete, if I want to apply the delete operation, so what I have to do is, so delete operation is one of the operation of the priority queue. Let us see what happens in delete operation. So you have to exchange the root key with the last key of the heap. That is the first step. So 9 is the largest element. So if you want to delete this 9, now what you're supposed to do is you have to take this 9, you have to exchange with the last leaf of the tree. That is, last leaf is 1. So 9 is exchanged with 1. 9 is exchanged with 1. So this is the first step. What is the second step? Decrease the heap size by 1. You have to decrease the heap size by 1. That means one element has to be reduced because the element has been removed. One element has been removed. Which is that element? 9, element number 9. So that will be there in the array, but it will be there in the last index of the array, which you are not supposed to consider for the heap. Okay, you have to reduce the size of the array by 1. So now this 9 is not considered in the array. The size is reduced. Okay, after reducing, what is the next step? Starting from the root, check the parental dominance property based on the bottom-up approach. We have seen the bottom-up approach. So start from the root node. So 1 has reached, 1 and 9 are being exchanged. 1 has come to the root position. Now whether check this 1 is satisfying the parental dominance. 8 and 6. So out of 8, what we are supposed to do? We have to check whether 1 contains any child. Yes, 1 contains 2 children. 8 and 6. If it contains 2 children, check which is having bigger value. The left child is having bigger value. 8 is bigger. So now once you find the left child value, compare it with the parent. Okay, whether parental dominance holds? No, the parental dominance doesn't hold. Therefore, move this 8 to the position of 1. Okay, assume that 1 is here. Now check whether 1, if 1 is copied, 1 is put here, whether parental dominance holds. Check with its children, 2 and 5. So 2, the value 2, it's the left child, and the value 5 is the right child. So here right child is bigger. Therefore, you are considering 5 now. Right? You have to consider right child. Compare 5 with 8. Okay, when you compare 5 with 8, 5 with 1, you have to compare. Okay, when you compare 5 with 1, so once again the parental dominance doesn't hold. So once again you have to move this 5 to its parent position. Okay, now 5 doesn't contain any children, and therefore this 5 can be overwritten and it can be made as 1. So what is happening here? 8 has gone to the root position. Now this is 8. And for 8, for the position of 8, 5 has come.